Wisdom seekers, imagine this: a life where you are untouchable by the trivial, unmoved by the temporary, and unharmed by the noise of the world around you. Imagine a life where peace flows through you like an unbreakable river, no matter what rages on the outside. This isn't just a fantasy. This is what mastering the game of life looks like. You see, we live in a world obsessed with speed, with quantity, with the need to accomplish more, earn more, be more. But in our relentless pursuit of everything, we often lose the only thing that truly matters: ourselves. As Stoics, the path we follow doesn't lead us toward a greater accumulation of things or a life shielded from pain. Rather, it brings us face to face with the self, with the core principles that grant us power, strength, and, most importantly, peace. Today, I'll share with you 10 powerful habits, 10 transformative practices drawn from Stoic philosophy and distilled from centuries of wisdom. These aren't quick hacks or feel-good tricks. They are fundamental, almost ritualistic practices that will demand you give yourself completely, but they will also reward you in ways beyond your imagination. These habits are the essence of resilience, the embodiment of wisdom, and the foundation of a truly unbreakable mind. Wisdom seekers, your support means everything. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Every like, subscribe helps us continue our mission of sharing knowledge. Ready to unlock more wisdom? Let's get started. Habit 1. Embrace radical acceptance. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean. The waves crash relentlessly against the shore, indifferent to who stands there or why. The ocean doesn't need permission to rise and fall. The tides won't change to suit our desires. Life, in much the same way, unfolds with or without our approval. Radical acceptance is about making peace with this truth. It's choosing to embrace life, not just when it meets our expectations, but especially when it defies them. In a world driven by the pursuit of control, radical acceptance feels counterintuitive, almost like surrender. But it's not surrender, it's liberation. The moment you stop battling reality, you free up a deep inner strength to engage with life on a new level. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." These words weren't born from a life of ease. They were forged in hardship, written in the midst of a plague that decimated his empire, during wars that threatened his people, and political intrigue that risked everything he held dear. To Marcus, obstacles weren't hindrances. They were the path itself. When we meet resistance, when things don't go our way, radical acceptance is the choice to see these challenges not as curses, but as opportunities, as the very substance of growth. Imagine a day where everything goes wrong. Your plans fall apart, people disappoint you, your efforts yield nothing but frustration. For most, these moments bring resistance, frustration, even rage. Why me? Why today? Why this? But imagine, instead of fighting, you chose to accept, to say, "This is what today brings, and I will meet it as it is." Suddenly, the energy you would have spent resisting reality becomes available for something far more powerful: resilience. This habit is about moving beyond the endless pursuit of "why me?" and stepping into "how will I respond?" Radical acceptance isn't resignation. It's understanding that the only true control we have is in our response. Life throws challenges, losses, and sometimes heartbreak at us all, regardless of who we are or what we've achieved. You will lose loved ones, face betrayal, and encounter pain. Radical acceptance does not erase this. It simply teaches us that this pain is a part of the human experience, an essential lesson in the tapestry of life. Consider the words of Epictetus, who taught that men are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. Pain is inevitable. Suffering, however, is optional. Suffering comes when we resist reality, when we cling to the way we wish things could be. Radical acceptance releases us from this suffering by allowing us to stand face to face with the raw truth of what is, rather than the comforting illusion of what we wish it to be. By accepting what cannot be changed, you start to tap into a profound inner strength, a quiet power that the Stoics called ataraxia, the state of imperturbable calm. Think of life as a river, constantly flowing, constantly changing. Most people spend their lives trying to dam the river, fighting its current, striving to make it flow the way they desire. But the Stoics understood the futility of this effort. They believed that true mastery came not from controlling the river, but from learning to navigate its flow. Radical acceptance is the habit of learning to row with the current, to understand the bends and depths of life's river, and to adjust our course accordingly. It doesn't mean you float aimlessly. On the contrary, you steer with far greater skill because you're not wasting your energy on resisting the current. This approach doesn't make us passive, it makes us powerful. When you stop wasting energy on things beyond your control, you become sharper, more present, and incredibly resilient. This habit teaches you to look at the world as it truly is, not as you wish it to be. It strips away illusions and forces you to confront the truth of life with a kind of fearlessness. And in that confrontation, you find a sense of peace. Radical acceptance teaches us that not every battle is worth fighting, that sometimes the greatest strength lies in standing still, in allowing life to unfold around us without feeling the need to alter it. Imagine if for just one day you chose to live without resistance, to flow with everything that came your way, accepting each event without judgment, without complaint. You would notice a profound shift, a lightness, a calmness that comes from aligning yourself with the natural order of things. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke once said, "Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final." This is the essence of radical acceptance, to allow the full spectrum of life to happen to you, to let beauty and terror alike flow through you, without clinging to one or fearing the other. This doesn't make you weak, it makes you untouchable. When you no longer resist life, nothing can unsettle you. In practicing radical acceptance, you'll find that you start to develop a kind of inner strength that can't be shaken by external circumstances. You won't become immune to pain, but you will become far less affected by it. You'll learn that peace doesn't come from a perfect life. It comes from a mind that's perfectly prepared to face life as it is. This habit will ask much of you. It will ask you to abandon your need to control, to let go of the comfort of what if, and to face what is with clarity and courage. But in exchange, it will give you freedom. Freedom from suffering, freedom from endless inner conflict, freedom from the exhausting pursuit of control. And in that freedom, you'll find that you are stronger, calmer, and wiser than you ever imagined. Radical acceptance is a practice, a choice you must make again and again, often in the face of great difficulty. But each time you choose acceptance over resistance, you grow. You become less fragile, more resilient, and ultimately, more at peace. It's not about giving up or passivity. It's about discovering an unshakable core within yourself that no storm can touch. Embrace the habit of radical acceptance and watch as life transforms, not because it changes, but because you have. Habit 2. Cultivate inner detachment. Imagine you are climbing a mountain, carrying a heavy backpack filled with things you hold dear. Your achievements, your relationships, your possessions, and even your sense of self. As you ascend, the weight of the pack grows heavier, pressing down on you with each step. Now, imagine that to reach the summit, you must let go of everything you are carrying, one by one. This is the essence of inner detachment, a practice that the Stoics understood as essential for reaching the highest peaks of human resilience and peace. Inner detachment doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It doesn't mean avoiding relationships or experiences. Instead, it means learning to appreciate the beauty of life without gripping onto it, without letting it define you. Epictetus, a philosopher who lived as a slave and later taught in freedom, said, "When you kiss your child goodnight, say to yourself, he is mortal, and he might not be here tomorrow." This isn't meant to provoke sorrow, but to deepen our understanding that everything we love is transient, and that peace comes from loving with an open hand rather than a clenched fist. Think about how much of our inner turmoil comes from clinging to things as if they are ours to keep forever. When something is taken from us, whether it's a possession, a relationship, or even a sense of personal achievement, we feel shattered, lost, sometimes even devastated. The practice of inner detachment reminds us that nothing outside ourselves can truly be ours. It teaches us to find fulfillment not in what we hold, but in how we hold it, with grace, with humility, and with the understanding that everything in life is ultimately borrowed. Imagine you're watching your life from above, as if you are an observer rather than a participant. You see yourself moving through different stages: childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and beyond. At each stage, the things you consider essential shift, evolve, and sometimes disappear. Inner detachment allows you to engage with each of these stages without becoming bound to them. It teaches you to appreciate every experience and every relationship for what it brings to your growth, but to remain anchored in the one thing that is truly yours: your inner character, your integrity. The Stoics saw detachment as a way to stay grounded in the face of life's unpredictable changes. Picture a tree in the middle of a vast plain. It stands tall and unyielding through storms, droughts, and the turning of seasons. Its branches may sway, its leaves may fall, but its roots run deep. Inner detachment is like these roots. It keeps us stable, allowing us to bend without breaking. When you cultivate this habit, you are no longer a leaf blown by every gust of wind. You become the steady tree, able to withstand anything, because you know that your true essence lies within, untouched by external forces. To cultivate inner detachment is to practice releasing control over outcomes. It is to live each day with an appreciation for what is, without grasping at what might be. It's to love and care deeply, but without the illusion that these things define us. Over time, this habit brings a profound peace because it removes the fear of loss, the need for validation, and the insecurity that comes from relying on things outside ourselves. When you learn to let go, you discover a freedom you never imagined, a freedom that allows you to love more fully, live more boldly, and face life with a calm strength. Habit 3. Practice disciplined self-reflection. Self-reflection is the cornerstone of wisdom. The Stoics believed that without regularly examining our thoughts, actions, and motivations, we risk being led astray by impulses and desires that don't serve our true purpose. Know thyself was an ancient principle, and for the Stoics it was essential for achieving inner harmony. Seneca, a philosopher and statesman, taught that each night we should review our day, considering what we did well and where we fell short, always asking, did I live in alignment with my values today? Imagine that every day is a single brushstroke on the canvas of your life. If you paint without intention, without examining each stroke, you risk ending up with a picture that doesn't reflect who you truly are. But when you practice disciplined self-reflection, you become the artist of your life, deliberately choosing each action, each response, and each thought with care. This habit is not about judgment, but about understanding. It's about looking at yourself with honesty and compassion, seeing where you have grown and where you still need work. Picture the calm of sitting alone, perhaps in a dimly lit room, asking yourself, where did I allow anger or fear to control me today? Did I act out of kindness? Did I waste time on things that don't matter? This practice brings clarity. It reveals the areas where we act out of alignment with our true selves, where we let pride or impatience take the reins. And with each revelation, you gain the power to choose differently next time. Self-reflection also builds resilience. When you know yourself deeply, when you understand your triggers, your weaknesses, and your strengths, you become less susceptible to life's disruptions. You begin to anticipate your own reactions, and rather than being swept up by your emotions, you learn to guide them. Imagine navigating a stormy sea with a map in hand. You know where the rocks and currents lie, and you can steer around them with confidence. Disciplined self-reflection is this map, offering insight into your inner landscape and allowing you to move through life with greater wisdom. This habit will ask you to confront truths about yourself that are uncomfortable. You may discover that you have hurt others, acted selfishly, or avoided responsibility. But this honesty is also where growth begins. The Stoics believed that by regularly examining our actions and motivations, we could shed our lesser selves and move closer to our highest potential. Over time, disciplined self-reflection transforms us. It sharpens our character, honors our judgment, and brings us a step closer to the wisdom we seek. It is the habit that makes every other habit possible, for without self-knowledge, we are merely drifting. Habit 4. Embrace discomfort with purpose. Imagine stepping into an ice-cold river, feeling the sharp chill against your skin, your instinct urging you to retreat. But instead, you stay. You breathe, steadying yourself until the cold becomes bearable, even refreshing. This practice of embracing discomfort is at the heart of Stoic resilience. Seneca advised that we should prepare ourselves for poverty, hardship, and struggle, not because we wish to suffer, but because discomfort strengthens our character. To voluntarily face challenges is to build a mind that is unshaken by them. In our modern world, we are conditioned to seek comfort and avoid pain. We are surrounded by conveniences, distractions, and luxuries that shield us from difficulty. But comfort can be a trap, weakening our resilience and making us vulnerable to hardship. The Stoics understood this, which is why they practiced voluntary discomfort, the habit of stepping outside comfort to strengthen the soul. It's the practice of choosing the difficult path, not for the sake of suffering, but for the sake of growth. Imagine challenging yourself each day to do something that stretches you. It could be physical, like pushing your body to new limits, or mental, like confronting a difficult truth or engaging in an uncomfortable conversation. By choosing discomfort intentionally, you prepare yourself for the discomfort that life will inevitably bring. It's like a muscle that grows stronger with each use. Over time, you'll find that the things which once frightened you or caused you stress no longer hold power over you. You'll face them with a calm strength, knowing that you are prepared. To embrace discomfort is to recognize that resilience is built, not born. Each time you step into a situation that tests your limits, you are training yourself to remain steady, to endure, and even to thrive. The Stoics believed that life's trials are not punishments, but opportunities, the very forge in which strength and wisdom are shaped. When you make a habit of embracing discomfort, you transform from someone who seeks ease to someone who seeks challenge, from someone who fears pain to someone who understands its purpose. In a world that avoids hardship, the ability to embrace it gives you an edge. It allows you to face life's inevitable setbacks without crumbling, to walk into challenges with confidence, and to find peace in circumstances that would break others. This habit is not an easy one, but it is one of the most powerful. It grants you the courage to face life head-on, to meet each moment with a fierce spirit, and to stand firm no matter what storms may come. In embracing discomfort, you discover a strength that is unbreakable, a resilience that lies at the heart of Stoic mastery. Habit 5. Cultivate emotional equanimity. Imagine standing in the center of a storm. Winds howl, lightning strikes, rain pours down with unrelenting force. Most would feel overwhelmed, anxious, and desperate to escape. But imagine instead that you stand still, unshaken, a sense of calm within you that the storm cannot touch. This is emotional equanimity, a mastery over the shifting tides of emotion, an ability to remain centered regardless of life's tempests. For the Stoics, equanimity wasn't about suppressing or ignoring emotions. It was about observing them without being controlled by them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Emotional equanimity is the understanding that our reactions, not external events, are the true source of our peace or turmoil. It's the practice of learning to remain calm in the face of both joy and sorrow, triumph and failure, so that we do not lose ourselves in the highs or crumble in the lows. Imagine your emotions as a river flowing within you. When we resist this flow, it can become turbulent, unpredictable, even overwhelming. But when we simply observe our emotions, allowing them to rise and fall without clinging or rejecting, they lose their power over us. Practicing equanimity is like standing on the riverbank, watching your emotions pass by without being swept away. You feel their presence, but you remain grounded, knowing that they, like the river, will eventually move on. Developing emotional equanimity requires patience and a deep commitment to self-awareness. Consider how often we let small things disrupt our peace. A rude comment, a missed opportunity, a minor setback. When we lack equanimity, these moments can spiral into days or even weeks of frustration. The Stoics knew that this was a waste of energy, an unnecessary burden on the mind. They practiced the art of questioning their reactions. Is this truly worth my peace? Is my response proportionate to the event? Building equanimity also means cultivating compassion for yourself and others. When we understand that everyone is dealing with their own internal battles, their own fears and insecurities, we begin to let go of the anger or disappointment we might feel towards others. We start to see things in perspective, realizing that our judgments and frustrations are often reflections of our own insecurities. Imagine approaching each person with the understanding that they, like you, are doing the best they can with what they know and feel. This habit softens our hearts, allowing us to remain calm and kind even when faced with conflict or misunderstanding. The Stoics also practiced gratitude as a means to develop equanimity. By focusing on what is good, even in challenging situations, they learned to find balance amidst chaos. Imagine a difficult day, one filled with stress, frustration, perhaps even sadness. Rather than letting the day define you, you pause and list 3 things you are grateful for. 3 moments of light amidst the shadows. Gratitude grounds you, reminding you that even on the hardest days, there is beauty to be found. Equanimity is not about avoiding life's storms. It's about learning to find calm within them. When you cultivate this habit, you discover a new kind of strength, one that does not depend on circumstances. You become like a deep-rooted tree, bending with the winds of emotion, but never breaking. Life will continue to bring challenges, joy, and sorrow, but with equanimity, you face them all with the same calm resilience. You find that inner peace is not about a perfect life, but about a mind that remains steady, no matter what life brings. Habit 6. Pursue lifelong learning. Imagine a garden that is never tended, left to grow wild without guidance. Over time, it becomes overgrown, chaotic, losing its potential beauty and productivity. The mind, too, can become overgrown without regular cultivation. For the Stoics, lifelong learning was the act of continuously tending to the mind, ensuring it grows not in random directions, but in alignment with wisdom, virtue, and purpose. As long as you live, keep learning how to live, Seneca advised, capturing the Stoic belief that true mastery of life is a journey without end. Lifelong learning isn't just about acquiring knowledge, it's about seeking wisdom, understanding the principles that govern a good life, and applying them daily. Imagine your mind as a sponge, constantly absorbing new ideas, perspectives, and insights. But unlike a sponge, you have the power to choose what you absorb, to decide what enriches your understanding and what detracts from it. This choice is at the heart of lifelong learning, actively seeking out the ideas, challenges, and experiences that deepen your character and sharpen your perspective. To embrace lifelong learning, the Stoics practiced humility. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in the world, referred to himself as a student of life, always learning, always refining his understanding. He would often remind himself that he knew only a fraction of what there was to know. Imagine if each day you approached the world with this sense of humility, with the understanding that every person, every experience, and every challenge has something to teach you. This habit fosters an openness to growth, a willingness to let go of rigid beliefs and embrace the possibility of transformation. Imagine setting aside time each day to study, reflect, and challenge your understanding. This could mean reading the works of great thinkers, engaging in meaningful conversations, or simply observing the world with curiosity. The Stoics believed that philosophy wasn't an abstract pursuit. It was a practical tool for life. They studied not to sound wise, but to live wisely. Imagine if, instead of passively consuming information, you actively sought knowledge that could help you live better. Studying not just to accumulate facts, but to deepen your understanding of yourself and the world around you. Lifelong learning also means being open to failure. The Stoics saw failure not as a setback, but as a teacher. Epictetus taught that every mistake, every misstep, is an opportunity for growth. Imagine approaching each failure with curiosity instead of judgment, asking yourself, what can I learn from this? This mindset transforms failures into stepping stones on the path of self-improvement. Instead of seeing them as roadblocks, you begin to see them as essential parts of your journey, each one sharpening your resilience, patience, and understanding. Imagine dedicating yourself to learning about not just the world, but also about yourself. Lifelong learning isn't just an external pursuit, it's an internal exploration. You begin to study your own mind, your habits, and your motivations. Each day, you observe your reactions, your thoughts, and your desires with the same curiosity you would bring to any new subject. Over time, you develop a profound self-awareness, a deep understanding of what drives you, what scares you, and what brings you joy. This inner learning allows you to live with greater authenticity, aligned with your true self rather than the expectations of others. The Stoics saw lifelong learning as a means of achieving inner freedom. Knowledge, they believed, liberates the mind from ignorance, from unnecessary suffering, and from the limitations of unexamined beliefs. When you dedicate yourself to learning, you begin to strip away illusions, to see the world as it truly is rather than as you wish it to be. You develop the clarity to make wise decisions, the resilience to face challenges, and the wisdom to live with purpose. Over time, lifelong learning becomes a journey of self-transformation. You begin to understand that life's purpose isn't about reaching a final destination, but about constantly evolving, constantly seeking to grow. This habit keeps you engaged, curious, and alive in a way that few other pursuits can. It reminds you that, no matter your age or experience, there is always more to discover, always more ways to refine your character, and always new depths to explore. When you commit to lifelong learning, you become a student of life in the truest sense. Each day, each experience becomes a lesson, and you begin to see life itself as a teacher, guiding you toward greater wisdom, strength, and peace. This habit instills a sense of humility and openness, a reminder that true mastery lies not in knowing everything, but in the willingness to keep learning, to keep growing, and to remain forever curious. Habit 7. Practice radical responsibility. Imagine you're holding a compass, one that always points to a single guiding principle: personal responsibility. In Stoicism, radical responsibility means taking ownership of your actions, thoughts, and reactions without placing blame on external circumstances. Imagine what it would mean to live with the unwavering conviction that every response you have is your choice, that no external force can dictate your state of mind or the integrity of your character. The Stoics believed that personal responsibility was fundamental to freedom. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." By practicing radical responsibility, you move from a life where you feel pushed around by events and people to a life where you are the steady captain of your own ship. This habit is about realizing that true power lies in your reactions, your decisions, and your outlook, not in the uncontrollable tides of fate. Imagine facing a difficult situation, a loss, a rejection, or a failure. Most people might look for someone or something to blame, an external source to carry the weight of the problem. But when you embrace radical responsibility, you refuse to cast blame on others or to let circumstances dictate your state of mind. Instead, you ask yourself, what can I control here? How can I respond in a way that aligns with my values? This shift in perspective transforms challenges into opportunities for growth. Radical responsibility also requires honesty. To truly take ownership of our lives, we must be willing to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves, our insecurities, our biases, our mistakes. This is not about self-criticism, but about self-understanding. Imagine approaching each mistake not as a failure, but as a mirror, reflecting back areas where you need growth. Rather than shying away from your flaws, you face them openly, with a commitment to improve. This honesty allows you to take meaningful action, to grow in alignment with the highest version of yourself. When you practice radical responsibility, you also free yourself from the cycle of resentment and bitterness. Imagine the liberation of knowing that no one else holds the keys to your peace of mind. Even if someone wrongs you, this habit allows you to choose forgiveness, to let go of anger, knowing that holding on to it only burdens you. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Radical responsibility frees you from the cycle of reaction and revenge, allowing you to respond with wisdom and integrity rather than letting others' actions dictate your character. Imagine each day as a series of choices, some big, some small. When you approach life with radical responsibility, each choice becomes a reflection of your values and character. You no longer allow anger, frustration, or fear to take control. Instead, you respond with intention, aware that each decision shapes who you are becoming. Over time, this habit brings a deep sense of inner peace, for you realize that the quality of your life is not determined by external forces, but by your own responses, choices, and mindset. Radical responsibility transforms you from a passive participant in life to an active creator of your own destiny. you become resilient, empowered, and calm, knowing that no matter what life brings, you have the power to choose your response. This habit grants you the strength to face any situation with clarity, courage, and wisdom. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You are the author of your life, writing each chapter with purpose and integrity. Habit 8. Embrace simplicity in living. Imagine a life stripped of excess, one in which each object, each relationship, and each pursuit holds genuine value. For the Stoics, simplicity wasn't about deprivation. It was about finding freedom through focus, about removing what is unnecessary so that we can dedicate ourselves fully to what matters. Seneca advised, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." To embrace simplicity is to cultivate a life rich in purpose, free from the distractions and anxieties of excess. Embracing simplicity means learning to distinguish between needs and desires. Imagine your life as a garden, and each material possession, commitment, or relationship as a plant within it. When the garden becomes overcrowded, none of the plants can flourish. They compete for resources, and the beauty of each is overshadowed by the clutter. The Stoics believed that by pruning away what is unnecessary, we allow the most important aspects of our lives to flourish. Imagine if you could clear away the weeds in your life, the clutter, the distractions, the obligations that drain rather than uplift you. Simplicity also brings clarity. Think about how much energy is spent in the pursuit of possessions, in the endless cycle of acquisition and maintenance. The Stoics knew that this cycle often leads to a form of inner poverty, where the soul is consumed by things rather than freed by purpose. Embracing simplicity means choosing quality over quantity, substance over appearance. Imagine having fewer possessions, but each one chosen with care, each one bringing a sense of purpose or joy, rather than simply filling space. This habit also extends beyond material possessions. Simplicity in relationships means focusing on those connections that are genuine, meaningful, and mutually supportive. Imagine if, instead of scattering your energy across shallow connections, you invested deeply in a few relationships that truly nourish you. The Stoics taught that friendships should be built on virtue, that we should seek companions who uplift, challenge, and inspire us. By simplifying our relationships, we create more space for intimacy, understanding, and growth. Simplicity also applies to how we spend our time. The Stoics valued each moment, believing that time was our most precious resource. When we clutter our days with distractions, when we allow ourselves to be swept up in trivial pursuits, we lose touch with the purpose of our existence. Imagine if you spent each day engaged in activities that brought you closer to your goals, deepened your understanding, or enriched your soul. This is the essence of a simple life, not a life empty of activity, but one full of meaning. Embracing simplicity also requires us to confront our own desires and attachments. The Stoics believed that much of our suffering comes from wanting what we do not need, from chasing after things that cannot bring lasting happiness. By learning to live with less, we develop a sense of inner sufficiency. Imagine the liberation of needing little, of finding contentment within yourself rather than in possessions or status. This inner sufficiency brings a profound peace, for you are no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. Over time, simplicity becomes a source of strength. It teaches us that happiness is not found in accumulation, but in appreciation. When we simplify our lives, we free ourselves from the endless pursuit of more, from the anxiety of loss, and from the distractions that keep us from our true purpose. Imagine a life where your mind is clear, your heart is light, and your energy is focused on what truly matters. This is the gift of simplicity, a life that is rich, not in possessions but in purpose, not in excess but in essence. Simplicity transforms our relationship with the world. We begin to see beauty in the small things, in the quiet moments, in the connections that bring warmth and joy. We discover that true wealth is not measured by what we own, but by the peace, focus, and fulfillment we carry within. In embracing simplicity, we find freedom, purpose, and a profound sense of gratitude for the life we live. Habit 9. Embrace death as a teacher. Imagine walking each day with the awareness that time is limited, that each moment is a gift not to be wasted. For the Stoics, the concept of memento mori, or remember you must die, was not morbid. It was a tool for living fully, for keeping priorities clear and values firm. Embracing death as a teacher means using the reality of mortality to live with intention, clarity, and courage. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." When we embrace death as a teacher, we shift our focus from trivial concerns to what truly matters. Imagine looking at each decision with the question, if this were my last day, would I want to spend it this way? When we face our mortality, we begin to let go of fears that hold us back. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of discomfort. These fears seem small in the face of death, and we begin to see that they are barriers to living fully. This habit reminds us that time is not to be wasted on things that don't align with our values and purpose. Consider how often we put off dreams, conversations, or even self-care, assuming there will always be more time. The Stoics challenged this assumption, understanding that life is unpredictable and that our time here is finite. Seneca warned against expecting tomorrow, advising instead to live fully in the present. Embracing death as a teacher is not about living recklessly, it's about living mindfully, making each choice count. Imagine if you approached each day as if it were a precious, irreplaceable experience. How much more presence, joy, and authenticity might fill your life? Embracing mortality also helps us develop gratitude. When we understand that each experience is temporary, we begin to appreciate the beauty in ordinary moments. A conversation with a friend, a walk in nature, a quiet morning. Death reminds us that everything we love will one day pass, and this awareness fills each moment with a sense of reverence. Imagine if each sunrise, each meal, each interaction were seen as a unique experience, something you may not have the chance to encounter again. This perspective enriches our lives, turning the mundane into the extraordinary. The Stoics also used the awareness of death to overcome attachments that bring suffering. By remembering that we cannot take anything with us, they freed themselves from the need to cling to possessions, status, or even relationships that no longer served them. Imagine the liberation of understanding that nothing is truly ours to keep, that each possession and each relationship is something we borrow for a time. This insight encourages us to appreciate what we have without becoming trapped by it, to love without the need to possess, and to live without the fear of loss. When we embrace death as a teacher, we also become less fearful of change. If we know that everything, including ourselves, is constantly moving toward an end, we become more adaptable, more open to transformation. The fear of the unknown begins to lose its grip, replaced by a curiosity about what each change can bring. Imagine if, instead of resisting life's transitions, you welcomed them, understanding that they are part of the natural cycle, that they bring growth, learning, and new perspectives. This habit of embracing mortality gives us the courage to evolve, to let go, and to step forward with a sense of purpose. In embracing death, we cultivate a kind of wisdom that enriches every moment. Life is seen not as a series of endless days, but as a precious, finite journey. We understand that our purpose is not to avoid death, but to live so fully, so completely aligned with our values, that when the end does come, we are at peace, knowing we have used our time well. Embracing death as a teacher gives us the clarity, courage, and gratitude to live not just with survival in mind, but with purpose, joy, and integrity. Habit 10. Live in accordance with nature. Imagine being in perfect harmony with the world around you, aligned with the natural rhythms and principles that govern life. For the Stoics, to live in accordance with nature meant understanding and accepting the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. It's the habit of aligning ourselves with reality, of accepting that which we cannot change, and of finding purpose within the flow of life's larger design. Living in accordance with nature means recognizing that we are a small part of a vast, interconnected universe. The Stoics saw themselves as part of a larger whole, understanding that each individual action impacts the collective. This perspective instills a sense of responsibility, encouraging us to live in a way that respects and contributes to the world around us. Imagine approaching each decision with the question, does this contribute to the greater good? This habit reminds us that our lives are not isolated, that our actions have a ripple effect, impacting others and the world itself. The Stoics also understood that nature is a teacher, that life's natural cycles hold lessons for those willing to observe them. Just as the seasons change, so do we. Imagine if you embraced the ebb and flow of life as naturally as the changing seasons, understanding that growth, loss, joy, and sorrow are all part of the human experience. By accepting life's seasons, we learn to let go of resistance, to adapt with grace, and to find peace within the natural order. This habit helps us approach life's challenges with resilience, knowing that hardship is as natural as rain and as temporary as a storm. Living in harmony with nature also means cultivating a sense of humility. The Stoics believe that arrogance comes from forgetting our place within the vastness of existence. Imagine if you viewed each moment, each breath, as part of a larger design, a miraculous interconnection of life. This perspective humbles us, reminding us that we are not the center of the universe, but a part of it. When we approach life with humility, we become more compassionate, more patient, and more willing to serve rather than demand. To live in accordance with nature also means embracing simplicity. Just as nature provides for every creature without excess, we too can find fulfillment with less. Imagine if, instead of seeking fulfillment through accumulation, you sought it through alignment with your values and purpose. The Stoics taught that a simple life, focused on virtue and wisdom, brings more joy and peace than one filled with material wealth. By living simply, we find freedom from the distractions of excess, allowing us to focus on what truly matters. One of the most powerful aspects of living in accordance with nature is the practice of acceptance. Nature does not resist what is. It flows, adapts, and moves forward. When we align ourselves with this principle, we learn to accept reality as it is. Imagine letting go of the need for control, of the habit of wishing things were different, and instead embracing each moment as it is. This doesn't mean passively accepting everything. It means accepting the parts of life we cannot change while actively working on those we can. This acceptance frees us from suffering, allowing us to engage with life fully and with presence. Living in harmony with nature also means acting with intention and wisdom, understanding that our time here is limited and that our actions leave a mark. The Stoics believe that each person's duty is to contribute to the world in a way that benefits others, that serves the greater good. Imagine if every action, every choice, were a reflection of your highest values, aligned not with fleeting desires, but with lasting purpose. By living in accordance with nature, we find a sense of meaning that transcends personal ambition, that connects us to the greater whole. To live in accordance with nature is to live with a sense of peace, knowing that we are part of something larger than ourselves. We realize that true fulfillment doesn't come from resisting reality or from seeking constant comfort. It comes from living authentically, with integrity, and in alignment with the natural order. This habit encourages us to be present, to accept change, and to live with a sense of purpose that is both deeply personal and universally connected. When you practice living in accordance with nature, you experience life in a state of flow, moving with, rather than against the currents of existence. You find harmony not only with the world around you, but also within yourself. This habit brings a sense of ease, of acceptance, and of joy, for you understand that to live well is to live in alignment with the principles that guide all of life. It is a way of being that brings wisdom, peace, and a profound sense of belonging to the great unfolding of life. Final thoughts. These 10 habits, each rooted in Stoic philosophy, offer a guide to mastering the game of life. They help cultivate resilience, purpose, and wisdom, encouraging you to live with intention, courage, and a deep sense of fulfillment. Each habit, whether it's seeking lifelong learning, practicing radical responsibility, or embracing simplicity, builds upon the others, creating a life rich with meaning and free from unnecessary suffering. In the words of Epictetus, no great thing is created suddenly. Mastering these habits will take time, patience, and dedication. They require a willingness to look within, to challenge oneself, and to live in alignment with values that endure. Yet, the rewards are profound. A life lived with clarity, strength, and peace. One that reflects not the whims of the world, but the wisdom of a mind in harmony with itself.